The Naked Gun franchise is a staple of American comedy.
How you doing, Trooper?
Unfortunately, it is a franchise that also seems to be slipping in popularity or just, general awareness.
With Leslie Nielsen. Who?
But of course, since this is 2025, Hollywood decided they want to reboot this famous franchise to try and squeeze some money out of the alleged built-in audience, as well as to bring in newer, younger people. Well, I just went and saw the new Naked Gun, and I was pleasantly surprised. It is actually pretty entertaining and even funny. As far as reboots go, I think the Naked Gun is the best one so far, but that is really not saying much when you look at the competition, especially when looking at comedies. The best thing I can say the movie is in terms of why it's the best reboot I think so far is because it isn't self-referential. It doesn't just go, hey, remember Naked Gun? Remember Police Squad and all the old spoof comedy movies? It did have some meta. We recognize that we are reboot jokes, and in the beginning, it did reference the old stuff and a little bit at the end. But if you've seen the trailer, then you've pretty much seen all of those parts.
Hi, Daddy. It's me, Frank Jr. Love you.
Hey, Dad. Boy, do I miss you.
But since it doesn't reference and do all its own stuff, does that mean it isn't a Naked Gun movie? Well, no, and also kind of. The humor in this movie is close enough to the same thing as the original movies and all the other comedies made by the Zucker brothers and Jim Abrahams. You have like background gags, play on words, funny narration, just some simple confusion, and acting normal while over-the-top wackiness is happening, as long as the satire of other movies.
Well, that shortcut to the playground sure saved us some time.
Don't get me wrong, it is nowhere near as chalk-packed as the original Naked Guns or something like Top Secret. Those movies, it's just non-stop, and you can catch some new stuff pretty much every time when you rewatch it. This new Naked Gun, I think you can still catch a lot that you may have missed the first time, but it does feel like there is less in there, and it does have some more time to breathe between jokes. The humor itself is not quite as clever as the originals, like some of the monologue comparison jokes.
Like a blind man at an orgy, I was going to have to feel things out.
But the jokes feel like they are written by people that have a lot of respect for the originals, but also can be funny. But hey, is the humor updated for a modern audience? I hear the voices in my head asking. Well, kind of. Not really in the sense of like censored or political correctness or anything like that. But the cop jokes feel more modern, like how they'll make fun of there being body cameras. In a lot of the humor, you can see the Seth MacFarlane input, or the Akiva Schaffer who directed this, who's from like the Lonely Island Company, and all that feels very 2000s and can kind of date it. For instance, they make jokes about TiVo and Buffy the Vampire Slayer. A lot of kids in school today probably won't understand those kinds of jokes and references. Another way that this movie is a little bit more modern is that it spoofs on modern action, like the later Mission Impossible movies and the Kingsman franchise. It has a more world-ending with technology kind of plot, some crazy CGI action that makes fun of all of the nonsensical action of today movies, and they even make fun of the fact that there's always a MacGuffin plot device in movies today. So while the humor and movie structure is very Naked Gun of old inspired, it is still more tailored to making fun of modern spectacle action movies than kind of like old police dramas.
Ed and I drove down to the docks where Nordberg had been found floating face down in the water. In a case where there are no leads, you have to start somewhere. And that somewhere was the harbor area.
Please disperse. Please disperse. There's nothing for you to see here. Keep moving.
Where'd they find Nordberg, Ed?
Right out there, Frank. You want to take a dinghy?
No, I took care of that at the press conference. Doesn't make sense, you know. Good policeman, bright future. Something like this happens.
And I think Liam Neeson and Pamela Anderson were great choices for the cast for that kind of movie. Pamela has actually been showing like her good acting chops lately, and her still playing like a bombshell even at her age is fun. And then Liam Neeson is a good choice because not only was he, an action star, but he's been dabbling in comedy with Seth MacFarlane's movies and some other stuff.
Let's do some improvisational comedy now. Knock, knock.
Come in.
Hello.
Oh, no, not you again.
I've never been here before.
Sorry, I thought because you're a hypochondriac, you would have been to the doctors before.
Don't presume. That's a backstory we didn't agree on beforehand.
That's improv, though, isn't it? You sort of go with the flow.
I don't take notes. Knock, knock.
Come in.
Hey.
Hi, how's it going? What seems to be the problem?
I've contracted AIDS.
How did you get that?
From an African prostitute.
And he has a similar story to Leslie Nielsen. He's an actor that for a long time did serious roles in drama, only to discover comedy later in his career and end up loving to do it, all while playing the entire thing straight. And while I think Leslie Nielsen is just better in The GOAT because he can do some more actiony over-the-top stuff and pull some more faces and kind of know when to let the straight go more into wacky, when needed, Liam Neeson did actually do a really good job too. And again, it's funny seeing Liam Neeson, who was one of the biggest action stars after the first Taken movie, now do a spoof movie on those action movies. There was even a part where he was doing a speech about getting revenge, and I really thought he was going to do like a Taken and the fact that he's Liam Neeson reference joke to it. But they didn't really go that way, however, it was still funny. But I'm not really going to get into the plot of the whole movie, and I don't really just want to retell the jokes, which would butcher them and not do them any service. I will say, if you liked the trailers, then you will like the movie. If not, I still think you can like the movie. There is a lot more setup to stuff, and there's different flavors of humor than just what the trailer had to offer. There's better gags, and there's even a decent running joke throughout that the trailer kind of hinted at, but didn't give a lot of justice to how it was actually done in the movie. And you know what? It's just nice to go to a movie theater and have a laugh again. It was fun to watch a movie that would just make fun of everything, and even itself. There was no one-sided political jokes, and they didn't really go hard on any particular type of person. It was just good comedy and a fun time. So if you're thinking about seeing this movie in theaters or not knowing if you want to wait till it hits streaming, I would say go to the theaters. The biggest thing this movie has going against it is the type of audience it is for and streaming. So what I mean is that this movie is based on a franchise that may not be as well known to kids whose parents don't show them it. So you'll get a smaller pool of, I don't want to say older people, but ones who remember all of those original movies or even the Police Squad show, now having to go to a theater when maybe they're more comfortable on just waiting for it to come to streaming. And then you have the people who kind of remember the original films from being shown or basic cable when they were on reruns, or still kind of remember the tail end when those type of comedies came out, like the superhero movie, or even the people that grew up with like older Family Guy and maybe have seen Seth MacFarlane's name attached to this and thought, oh, that'd be good. Either way, the people who know Naked Gun and the people who are kind of tailored to the sense of humor still need to be convinced to go to the theaters And then those two combined will probably get this movie where it needs to be and more. But Liam Neeson and Pamela Anderson aren't major draws for a younger crowd, and the type of humor advertised in the trailer isn't quite as nonsensical and weird and skibbity whatever that Gen Z likes. So there is not much to really bring people in other than kind of the somewhat creative marketing and word of mouth. And I fear that's not really going to work, though. And that's a shame because the other hurdle that this movie has to overcome is streaming. Streaming just is not a good out of the theater money making model. As much as I like streaming more than cable, it isn't that profitable. And it makes it so DVD sales are dramatically less. In a movie like this, they kind of rely on DVDs sales to make some money back because it was always hit or miss if it would make enough money in the box office. But through cable reruns, the eventual word of mouth, or memes, or kids nonstop quoting at school, or even Blockbuster pushing it back when you would go and, give a rental a try, and if you liked it, end up buying it. So then DVD sales would go up and they'd make a lot of money, and suddenly a comedy classic is born. So with the lack of DVD money or old rental things or anything like that to help the people that weren't quite convinced to go to the theaters to show up, they actually need the people to show up to the theaters. And don't worry, it is actually a pretty quick watch, so you won't waste a lot of your day. It's only an hour and 25 minutes, and it goes by pretty quickly, but it's still enjoyable. So hey, with the promise of a good laugh and a short run time and the mentality of support more of what direction you want Holly to go in, yeah, I think it is worth seeing The Naked Gun in theaters. And while it still is a needless reboot that probably didn't need to be called Naked Gun, it is actually fun and funny, and hey, that is a step in the right direction.
Please disperse! Nothing to see here, please!